Okay, so Itel made a gaming phone. They're calling it the RS4. I've had it for about 2 weeks now, so let's talk about it. Okay, so you're definitely not getting this fancy box if you purchase the RS4. I believe they just sent this out to creators. This box though is what you should expect. Inside it, you'll find a clear rubber phone case, a charging cable, a charging brick, and the smartphone. The only accessory missing would be wired earphones, but I don't think people would be too upset about that. Now, although we were not giving wired earphones, the RS4 still comes with the headphone jack. You would find it at the bottom of the phone. Next to it is the only microphone, the USB-C port, and one of 2 speakers. The other speaker is up top. I listened to music, I played games, I watched movies, and as you probably expected, the speakers are pretty loud. On the left of the phone, you'd find the SIM and SD card tray, and on the right, you'd find the power and volume buttons. The power button doubles as a fingerprint sensor. It's pretty fast and works 99% of the time. I also like its fading animation when you unlock the device. Anyone who sees the RS4 would immediately assume it's a gaming phone. It definitely gives a sort of gaming vibe, with the green accent colors around the camera module and the stripe down the middle of the phone. Itel is calling this design high-end racing design. Not quite sure what that means though. So it looks like a gaming phone, but can it actually play games? The RS4 uses the Helio G99 Ultimate processor. You can find this processor on a ton of smartphones, from the Redmi Note 13 Pro to the Galaxy A15 4G to the Spark 20 Pro Plus. There are a lot of them. But the thing is, all of these devices are more expensive than this. So in a way, it's kind of impressive that the RS4 comes with this processor. There are 2 variants of the RS4. The base model comes with 8 gigs of RAM, but the other variant comes with 12. And note that this is hardware RAM, so if you add virtual RAM, this can go up to 16 or 24 gigs. Definitely impressive. Now, for actual gaming, I'm probably not the best to speak on this because I only play RS4 9. But yeah, when I did, it went great. It looked good and played well. I didn't experience any lags or glitches. Gameplay was very smooth. Oh, and the phone didn't heat up. I was very satisfied. I reached out to Izzy though and asked him how the RS4 performed in other games, and this is basically what he sent me. So yeah, in short, the RS4 can play games. Now, of course, it will not play at the best graphics settings because again, this is still a budget phone, but I think for $150 or 200k, this is probably the best you would get. Displays are also important when it comes to gaming. I mean, it's what you're going to look at and interact with while gaming. So it kind of has to be good. The RS4's display though is kind of good, but also not so good. On one hand, it has the highest refresh rate I've ever seen for $150, 120 Hz, but it's a 720p LCD display. So really high refresh rate, but then 720p. But yeah, everyone saw this and started complaining. You know, people were saying, oh, it would be better if it was a 90 Hz 1080p display, you know, and I guess that would have been fine. But yeah, this is what we get, 720p, 120Hz IPS LCD display. I don't know, I think most people buying this phone wouldn't notice that much because they're probably coming from a 720p display. What I think they would notice though is the smoother experience thanks to the higher refresh rate. So maybe, just maybe, this was an okay sacrifice to make. Thankfully though, there were no sacrifices with battery and charging. The RS4 comes with a 5000 mAh battery, typical for this price point. But they upped their charging game and went with 45 watts this time around. I might be wrong, but I also think this is the fastest charging you would find on a $150 smartphone. Battery life again is typical. It all depends on your usage, of course, but on average, this should last you for a whole day. I think it was just a few days ago I started watching this series on Netflix. I think I watched about 9 or 10 episodes of it. Each episode was like 35 minutes long. And at the end of everything, my battery went from I think 87% to like 43. So yeah, it should last the whole day. On their website, Itel is saying you can get up to 7 hours of battery life when gaming and 16 hours while watching videos. I'll say it's a little bit lower than that. When you do run out of battery though, it will take you about an hour to charge up the device to 100%, which is fine. The RS4 also has the bypass charging feature. This would be useful for those long gaming sessions. For those wondering, the RS4 runs on Itel OS 13 based on Android 13. Do I wish it was Android 14 instead? Yes. Do I think it matters too much? Not really. For the software experience, it's basically the same as the S24. It comes with all the same features and quirks. I also don't think we'd be getting any major OS updates, but we should be getting security updates. Gamers wouldn't care too much about camera quality, but for the non-gamers, let's talk about it. The RS4 comes with 2 cameras, one on the rear, which is a 50 megapixel sensor, and one in front, which is an 8 megapixel sensor. You're definitely not buying the RS4 for its cameras, but when you do have to take pictures, this is what you can expect. To sum it all up, the camera quality is okay. What I noticed though is sometimes it nails it. Color, HDR, detail, nails it. But some other times, not so much, especially with color. So I think it's a pretty decent camera, especially when you give it a ton of light, but it's a little bit inconsistent. For videos, it shoots up to 2K 30 FPS, but I shot mainly at 1080p 30 FPS because of the stabilization you would get. Again, just like with photos, if you give it a ton of light, you would get pretty decent results. I think video quality is fine. But of course, do let me know what you think down in the comments. I think as a gaming phone, the RS4 is definitely the best option for those on a tight budget. It literally has the best performance for its price. It's got a fluid 120Hz display, it's got good battery life, and has like the fastest charging for this price point. The only con would be its 720p display. So I think the real question is, how big a deal is that to you? Because if you want a 1080p display, you have to look at something else. But if it's fine, then it's fine. But yeah, that's my review of the Itel RS4. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you when you see me.